if you're going to be educated, a person has to know the difference between credit and debt. And that's why I'm mentioning the demographics, because the average person is not smart enough to handle that. All money today is credit. It doesn't exist. Credit is very simply the power to spend. That's all it is. So when you have a credit card, there's no money in that thing. They've just given you the power to spend. And the moment you spend it, you create debt. Debt is a four-letter word for most people. There are many people in my position, so-called financial gurus, who say live totally debt-free. And there's other people who say cut up your credit cards. And that's good advice for certain types of people. So you should definitely cut up your credit cards if you don't know, you can't control your spending. Well, the reason the rich don't work for money is number one expense is tax. See, there's three kinds of income: earned, portfolio, passive. So earned income is if I get a job, that's earned income. If I'm a doctor or a programmer, that's earned income because I'm working. If I buy, let's say, Apple for $10 and I send it for $20, that's portfolio income, capital gains. But passive income, which is cash flow, is never taxed. So it's not, and so these guys are screaming right now in America, tax the rich. I said, good luck. Because most of the guys complaining, they don't know there's three kinds of income. And the rich don't have jobs anyway. They have assets. And so the average schmo out there, a poor guy, sent the kid to school, they don't learn this. So that's why in Fake, as you were talking about it, there's that newspaper article about Jared Kushner, and he explains how the Trumps and the Kushners don't pay taxes and make millions of dollars. And the reporter couldn't understand him because our schools will never teach you that three types of income.
I always tell people we're all financial traders. A lot of people say, I'm not a financial trader. Yes, you are. You're trading time for money. Yeah. That's the worst trade you can ever make in your life. Somebody who's wealthy has made money their slave. They're no longer the slave to money. And the way they do that is they've figured out how to become an owner. And the way you do that in the most simplistic way, I even taught it in my first book, was you have to decide there's a percentage of money that you're going to keep forever. You're not going to give it to Kate Spade or Ferrari or anybody else. You can do that too. But there's a percentage of that income that never will be touched, that you will grow and compound and will provide income the rest of your life so you don't have to work. Now, when I was growing up, everybody's goal was get rich enough so you never have to work. Now, like all my friends are 15, 18 years my senior. People like Steve Wynn in most of Las Vegas, he's like 74. Warren Buffett's 85. Peter Guberman, one of my dearest friends in the world, owns the Golden State Warriors, the LA Dodgers. We're partners in the LAFC football team in LA. Brilliant guy, 74 years old. And they're all working harder now than they ever were, and they don't have to work. So the goal is make enough money so you don't have to work, and then you'll do what you love, and you'll pour your time and energy into it. But you have to make that decision. People think that the way you get free, financially free or wealthy, is you get this big score. Somehow I'm gonna make a bunch of money, or somehow I'm gonna make this investment in Apple and it's gonna triple, and that's what's gonna make me wealthy. But all the research shows, in reality, people who earn huge sums of money rarely keep those huge sums of money. And very few people really get to the number that they're really after when they're trying to make that big score. And so I really wanna show you a much simpler way. There are literally millions of people around the world that have become millionaires, and they've done it really slowly and easily because they've just tapped into a very simple power. And that power I know you've heard of called compound interest or compounded growth. The idea of growth upon growth, multiplying itself. Let me explain what I mean. Early in the book, I decided one of the people I wanted to go visit with was a man named Burton Malkiel. Burton Malkiel, or Bert, is an amazing professor who's at Princeton, and I wanted to go see him because he wrote a book that's become kind of an investing classic called A Random Walk Down Wall Street. And he wrote it in the 70s, and it's still popular today. And in it, he kind of shook up the investment field because he came up with this idea saying, you know what? People should be able to have a tiny bit of money and own all of the stock market and not pay these huge mutual fund fees that are usually hidden, that are eating away at your ability to grow and compound what you have into real wealth. And he was one of the earliest people to ever come up with this idea of promoting the idea of an index fund. An index fund, again, is really simple. Instead of buying Apple or PepsiCo or Coke or whoever the case may be, you can actually buy this index, which mimics the entire stock market. So you get a micro piece of all these companies, all the best companies, for example, in the S&P 500 or the Standard & Poor's 500, if you're familiar with that. And so his idea has turned into a $7 trillion a year business. And another person I got to spend quite a bit of time with that you'll learn about here in the book and here with me is a gentleman who started Vanguard, and that's Jack Bogle. He took this idea and he bet his fortune on it. Both of these men understood something. And when I sat down with Burt Malkiel, the first thing I said was, look, I know you're a straight shooter. The guy definitely shoots from the hip. He doesn't care what people think. I said, tell me, what's the single biggest mistake that individuals make, that investors make in their life? And he said, Tony, beyond a shadow of a doubt, is they don't take full advantage of the power of compounding. He said, Einstein said it was one of the single greatest inventions of humanity. Understanding it can change everything in your life, and everybody says they understand it, he told me, but very few people tap it. He said, understanding something intellectually is not the same as doing it. If you're doing it, then you know it. If you understand intellectually, like I've said before, that and $3 will almost buy a Starbucks mug of coffee.
This is the first level. This is the first level on how to make money. So what you do when you have a job is you give up your time to get some cash. So a guy will say, if you stand here all day, I'll give you X amount of money. And you agree. You give up your time to make money. The problem with giving up your time to make money is what? Who knows the problem with giving up your time to make money? I'll tell you the problem. The problem is you only have a certain amount of time. It's very difficult to get rich if you give up your time for money because you have a certain amount of time. You need to sleep, you need to eat, you got other stuff to do. You haven't got the time to sit there and get rich that way. So time for money is great, and obviously the more valuable your time is, the better. That's fine, you can make more. But you still have a finite amount of time. And this is the problem with trading your time for money. Next is information for money. Now the good thing about getting information for money is that your time is not explicitly linked. So if you do something like a video giving information, that one video, you can film it one time, but it can be given out or sold 1,000,000 times, and you get paid every single time. But your time is no longer linked to the money. So a lot of people make money purely on information. And it can be done lots of ways. It can be done with what I'm doing right now. I'm making money based on what I know right now. I am selling information to you people. I know information and I'm providing it. There are also high-level consultants who do the same thing. Information is valuable. We live in the age of information. Another thing I guys want you to write down your notes. Some of the two most important things in the world today are information and attention. If you have information and you can get attention, you will be rich. Because if you can get attention, people are going to pay attention to you. And if you have information to give them, you're going to be rich. This webinar is an example of how me, a person who can attract attention, who has information, can make money. So information for money is better than time for money. Now, every single person sitting here, there must be something you know. You know something. You know something others don't know. It doesn't matter if it's how to play guitar, doesn't matter if it's how to play piano, doesn't matter if it's how to fix a car, doesn't matter what it is. You must have some information that other people find useful. That information can be weaponized and it can be turned into money.